And we are here with another week of Touchdown, coming at you direct from Schwadorf, Austria. I'm your host, Joel Turpin. Here with me this week is our local and NFL expert, Martin Marhold.
Good evening.
And this week, let's kick it off talking a little bit about the previous week's matchups with the Cincinnati at Miami game. It was the last Thursday night's game.
Very interesting game. So if you had the chance to get up, it was well worth it, I guess. The Bengals winning it in overtime, losing it, in overtime.
Right.
With a safety. I mean, they scored 2 points for their opponent, so actually, yeah. It was a tough loss for the Bengals, I think, because for very much of the game it looked like they were gonna walk away with it. They had the Dolphins had a 14-point lead first, so it was tough for the Bengals. But then they came back and had 17 unanswered points. And usually when you do that, those momentum shifts we always used to talk about it. Then you don't come back. But actually the Dolphins came back with a field goal only 11 seconds before the end of the game to tie it, and then with a game-winning sack in overtime, it was actually great to watch, I think.
Yeah, it was a very good game. I would put this right up near the top of my surprises for the week, actually, because I really thought Miami was about to the point where they were just going to kind of tank the rest of the season. They were just not looking good anymore. They looked like they'd lost the life and the drive that they had in those opening games. They looked to me like Arizona from last year, where they started out strong and then just went off the edge of a cliff. So
also, I think it was only after that it was in the news that they have the off-the-field issues with Richie Incognito and so on. But obviously it was in the team before, so this could have been a problem here. And had we known earlier, we probably all of us would have said, well, it's going to be Bengals all the way.
Yeah.
But this time it actually worked out the other way around, and so Miami is still not out of the playoff picture. You gotta keep in mind that for the AFC wildcard, for the second one, you currently need 5 wins. Miami is on 4 now, so they're actually just 1 win behind the playoffs,
I think. Okay, another team that has kept itself in the playoff picture and pulled off another one of the week's, possibly the biggest surprise of the week, the New York Jets beating the New Orleans Saints 26-20.
Yeah, it was a devastating loss for the Saints, actually. Breeze with 2 interceptions in the game alone. He had 5 in the post-7 games. So, and actually, I was lucky at that because there were quite some drops by Jets defense players who could have made 2 or 3 more interceptions. So he was lucky to have only 2. He also had a fumble, with one having he had before in all the other games. Still, they ran 13 times. They passed 51 times. So you also can see that they were. It was a tough game because usually if you're in the control of the game, even the Saints tend to run a little bit more often.
Sure.
So only good thing about the game for the Saints is that Jimmy Graham obviously is full speed.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like someone that has plantar fasciitis or whatever it is.
Whatever it is, I'm not a medic.
He's doing the touchdown dunks and that stuff. Yeah, that not much I can really add there except I still think it's a bit of an aberration with regards to New Orleans. I don't think it fundamentally changes who they are, but it does show a way that they can be beaten and that they're among the teams to beat in the NFC, but not necessarily the team to beat in the NFC.
Well, I'd still say the Saints are certainly one of the top 5 teams.
Yeah.
Overall in the NFL. They're definitely one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the NFC. I still don't think the Jets are more than a little bit above average. It might also be attributed that maybe the Saints have underestimated the Jets. Took it too lightly, said, okay, we're going to go to East Rutherford, take a win, go home again. That's it. And obviously it didn't work out. So,
okay, I'm going to jump ahead here for time's sake and talk a little bit about the Indianapolis-Houston game. That was not a surprise, obviously, that Indianapolis won it. Maybe more of a surprise that Houston kept it so close.
Yeah, but on the other hand, the story of the game for me is how it worked out in the end. Because the Colts were down 18 points at halftime. Then Gary Kubiak obviously was cut off to the hospital. All the best, Gary, if you're watching.
Yeah.
I hope it's nothing serious. The Texans won't tell. They just say it's not related to any heart problems. That's all they say.
Yeah.
But obviously after that, the Colts took command, and also the Texans' offense didn't look any. Well, they couldn't manage to do anything in the second half,
right?
And also the defense was worse than before.
Yeah, and that's the second close call with the coach this week. So of course that's kind of dominated some of the discussions between that and the intrigue in Miami. That's of course the big stories of the week. But hopefully that'll resolve itself and we can just deal with the football issues. So
I'd rather talk about
Fox.
on the field topics than about off the field issues. So.
The last game of the week that we had the pleasure watching here was Chicago pulling off a bit of an upset by beating Green Bay, which was, of course, fueled by the Aaron Rodgers injury. So then, of course, that just almost kind of put them on a level playing field, though, where each team was playing without their starting quarterback.
But I think that the main difference here is how both teams managed the backup quarterback position, because the Packers, they always said, okay, A-Rod's going to play through all his career like Brett Favre did. Actually, A-Rod hadn't missed a game since 2010, I think.
Right.
And he's yet to miss a game, but obviously he's going to be out next week. So they were dealing with a backup quarterback position like, we don't need any. We don't care. They had Vince Young in the beginning of the season, then they released him, hired Scott Tolzien, I think was his name, from the number 3 quarterback the San Francisco Niners released earlier. Then they actually hired for the number 1 quarterback position, again, a guy that was released in San Francisco. So Seneca Wallace, who took over, hadn't played a game since 2011, I think.
Yeah.
On the other hand, the Bears, they had Josh McCown, who played well when it had to take over, I think it was last year, the year before.
Mm-hmm.
Either year, I don't know, I don't remember really, but he played well, and so they kept him on the team, and he's been part of the offense. He understands what it's all about, and you can see the difference.
Agreed.
McCown looked good. Yeah. Wallace, well, rusty at best.
Yeah. Yeah, he looked like someone who got thrown into a tough situation, which obviously isn't necessarily his fault, but that is what it is.
That's the way the front office of the Packers decided to deal with it, and that's the result of it, I guess.
Yeah. When it was all said and done, Chicago with the win, this win, plus Detroit continuing to win, plus Green Bay's quarterback injury really makes this a wide open race, a 3-way race there in that division.
Actually, I think you can see that the Packers without Aaron Rodgers are not a playoff team anymore.
No.
I mean, Lacey had a good game again with 150 yards, a touchdown, but if they continue to play like that, I don't see them winning the division, and they also might have a hard time to even get to the wildcard race in the NFC particularly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be a tough go for them if Rodgers doesn't come back sooner than expected. So, okay, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we will talk about the Week 10 matchups that are upcoming, and we'll see you all then. And we are back. Going to talk about the upcoming games for this Week 10 of the NFL season. We're going to start right off, dive right in with Seattle at the hapless Atlanta Falcons.
Well, yes. At this point in time, Atlanta certainly doesn't look like the NFC Championship game participant that they were last year. Still, on the other hand, Seattle is 8-1, but in the last 2 games they won. They were both very, very close. They got a combined margin of victory of, I think, 7 points. And having a tough time winning at home against Tampa Bay doesn't make me very confident in this team. So I'll go with the upset here, and I'd say Atlanta is going to win this.
I've decided I'm not going with Atlanta anymore this year, so I'm going to go with Seattle. However, I register the same concerns about Seattle's overall strength, as Martin does. I've actually watched them quite a bit here this season, and this last game especially. When I saw the score, I flipped over on my NFL Game Pass and watched a little bit, and yeah, they came back and won it, but they were playing Tampa Bay, and had they been playing against a better team.
Actually, a better coach team in my opinion, because Tampa had a stellar running game until they decided they don't need it anymore in the fourth quarter because they were in the lead. So we're gonna start passing now.
So yeah, I'm gonna go with the Seahawks. It's a vote of no confidence in Atlanta though.
Yeah,
Detroit. Detroit at Chicago, as we just mentioned, a big log jam at the top of the race there, and this is one of those games that's going to go towards deciding who wins it all.
Yeah, it's because there are three teams on 5-3 in the NFC North now. It's going to be an interesting race. If for anything, I'd go with Detroit here because they still have Megatron and they have Stafford just putting it up into the air somewhere in the general area where Megatron is around and he plucks it down. It's most of the time it's for a touchdown, obviously, and of course, my topic, they're coming off their bye week, so they had more time to prepare.
Yeah, I think I'll agree with you here too. Chicago did impress me in beating Green Bay, if nothing else, because it showed that this is not a team that's going to quit or that's going to give in to their injury situation, which is great. And yet, I still think that overall, right now, at this moment, the healthy Detroit is the better team, and we'll take this matchup. Mm-hmm. Philadelphia, the big scores from this last week's game in Oakland against Green Bay, the big injury team.
Well, we can go with our record holder, not new record holder in passing touchdowns, Nick Foles, who had 7 passing touchdowns, just like the other Hall of Famers do. No, actually, it's going to be an interesting thing to see what they are going to do in Philly now, because Michael Vick is going to be healthy sooner or later, but Foles played very well. He's younger, he's cheaper, so interesting thing to do, but Chip Kelly here decides on whom they're going to go with. On the other hand, as we just said before, we have Green Bay out of Aaron Rodgers, so I'll go with Philly here. I think they are on the run now.
This is maybe the toughest game to call for me this week because I don't believe in either of these teams at the moment. I've liked Philly all year. I've liked some of the stuff that they've tried to do, or I've wanted to like them at least. And obviously they destroyed Oakland last week, but I never have much faith in Oakland, so it doesn't surprise me.
It was with a little help from the Oakland defense.
Yeah, but Green Bay without half their receiving core and without their quarterback, this is just a toss-up. I'll go with Philadelphia too, just because I've liked them this year, and it would be nice to see the NFC East win a game or two outside of the division as they did last week. So yeah, we'll go with Philly and maybe make that a little more exciting over there in the NFC East when it's all said and done.
Yeah, maybe.
Jacksonville at Tennessee, and Martin, you want to say a little bit about
Jacksonville? Yeah.
It's
I got one thing to say about Jacksonville. That is, when you're 0-8, you definitely need good news. And Justin Blackmon being suspended at least for the rest of the season is not exactly good news. So that's I think that's all that you can say about Jacksonville currently. And everything's in disarray there, I think. I don't know where they want to start when they start rebuilding, so no way for me they're going to win this, and they're going to go 0-9, I'm pretty much sure.
Yeah, Tennessee. St. Louis at Indianapolis. The Rams, who are one of the tougher teams to call this year for me. They always seem to step up and play well when you don't expect them to, and then just lay an egg other weeks. At Indianapolis, who's obviously one of the strongest teams in the league.
Yeah, I'd go with the quality of the roster, simply. And if it wasn't that, then it would be the home team. And if it wasn't that, then it would be the record. And if it wasn't that, then it would be the consistency. So I can expect. I can imagine this to be a close game. I'm not quite sure that this will be a blowout win for Indianapolis, but I think in the end they are gonna be the better team and win this.
Yeah, Indianapolis will win it, and I don't think it'll be close, but I don't think it'll be a blowout either because India's tried all year to establish their running game and make that a strength, and I could see them using a game like this to just take another shot at that, to just say, hey, let's just pound it on the ground for a little while. If we win by 7, 10 points, whatever, that's fine. We don't need to win big. We're just going to take it, and yeah.
It's not likely they're gonna need their margin of victory for the tiebreaker.
No, probably not.
You don't have to go for it.
Oakland at New York. Couple of powerhouses.
Yeah,
Trading blows.
combined 5 wins there, which is really great. Very tough call for me. Very tough call. Obviously, the Oakland defense last week was unprepared, I'd say. It's not like they were playing bad or particularly bad. I couldn't even go there and say this player played bad. They just looked unprepared and like they didn't expect the Chip Kelly offense, which was a kind of surprise for me because they have been playing like that for 8 weeks now.
Yeah.
So if they prepare themselves similarly for the Giants, then I don't see any chance they will go with a victory on the road in New Jersey. On the other hand, the Giants haven't looked stellar exactly before. I go with the home team here. I think it's going to be the Giants.
Yeah, I hate to be boring and agree with you again, but yeah, I all season long I've expected the Giants to put together some sort of mini run. Not enough to make any playoff push or anything, but to win 3 or 4 in a row, get it back to a margin of respectability. They are not that far removed from a Super Bowl. They've still got a lot of those components in place. No one's really been able to pinpoint just why they've been so bad this year, other than offensive line play and bad decision making by the quarterback, things like that. But things that you think could be fixed, at least to the point where you can win at home against the Oakland Raiders.
Yeah, I think the main thing here, what you said now is they haven't had a lot of change in personnel here. They haven't had any changes in coaching staff, so really nobody understands why it's not working out anymore.
Yeah. Buffalo at Pittsburgh, a couple of teams that are disappointing maybe and can't win, but they do seem at least recently to make a game of it.
Yeah, Pittsburgh seems to have picked up some speed for me. They kept the game between them and New England last week close for quite some time. It was only in the end that New England finally ran away with it. But I think they could pick up some speed, and I think they're definitely better than their record of 2-6. They're not gonna go win the division. They're not gonna go to the playoffs anymore. I think that's gone, but they should win games like this, and so I'm gonna go with the Steelers here.
Me too. We're just gonna agree on everything this week. We'll go with Pittsburgh at home. Cincinnati and Baltimore, the defending champs versus the upstart Bengals.
Interesting one. Baltimore had a devastating loss at the Browns. They are 3-5 now, which is not quite common for a defending Super Bowl champion. Even one that has lost, what was it? I think 7 or 8 starters from last year's team. Still, they should manage to be better. I just can't see it happening against the Bengals here. I know the Bengals lost in Miami last week, but also I think this kind of a mishap. I don't see the Bengals being a team that would lose to weaker teams consistently, and at the moment I think they're the better team.
I'm going to call for the upset here. Gonna say that Baltimore pulls it together, wins one for pride at home. Flacco remembers that in addition to his big contract, he occasionally needs to put up some good numbers so people don't run him out of town. And we see a Baltimore upset this week. Carolina at San Francisco. Battle of big defenses, hard hitting.
Yes, actually, just 3 or 4 weeks ago, I'd have said, well, this is gonna go San Francisco easy way. But Carolina seems that team to beat currently in the NFC. For me, they are on the run. They won the Steelers, the Buccaneers, and Atlanta, which isn't the big names currently.
No.
But they played well. They also have a good margin of victory always. So it's gonna be a tough game for the 49ers, I guess. On the other hand, the 49ers coming back from London had a week of rest, bye week.
Yeah.
And I think in the end they have the more talent on the roster. I think they're a better team, and they're playing at home. So I'll go with San Francisco here.
Yeah, I see Carolina keeping it close for maybe 2.5, 3 quarters, and then San Francisco maybe just putting it away and winning by 10 points. If it's at home, and they're the stronger team overall, I still think, and Carolina, while I do think they're going to make a push for the wild card slot all the way up until the end of the season, I don't know that they're
Very well possible, very well possible. I don't see them in the race for winning the division because that's gonna go to New Orleans, I think.
Right.
But wildcard Carolina, very possible.
Yeah. Houston at Arizona.
Yeah, Houston, for me, a lot depends on if Gary Kubiak is gonna come back. I mean, there's been discussions about him if he's gonna be the head coach even at the end of the season or maybe next year. But obviously, when you saw how the team looked after he was gone at halftime, they need him at least for the moment.
They need him for the moment, yes.
On the other hand, they're pretty much out of the playoff picture already, so they could go further and try to explore their options for next year and not win too many games, so the draft pick becomes better.
Sure.
And also it depends on what we're going to see from Case Keenum in his third start. He looked very good in his first one. First half was okay, second one was bad, so which are we going to have?
Yeah.
In the end, I think it's going to be Arizona because, they still got Palmer to Fitzgerald, even if that connection didn't work out as good as I expected, but I think in the end they're a better team.
Yeah, Arizona at home, I think will find a way. They finally seem to have found a running game, which for me is maybe going to make the difference. They're no longer forcing the ball quite as often as they had to early on. So they continue to pound the ball a little bit. I think they'll find a way to beat the Texans at home. Denver at San Diego. The Chargers trying to blunt.
Also a very
Broncos.
interesting one for me because usually I'd go if it was in Denver I'd say Broncos. No chance the Chargers will do anything there, but it's a Chargers home game. Not the most enthusiastic crowd you can think of, but still you have to play well on the road. On the other hand, it's going to be warm. Peyton Manning likes that.
True. He does like the warm, yeah.
So I still think that Denver, being the more complete team and being the more consistent team especially, will win this.
I'm going to call for the upset here. It's a divisional game. I know Denver's coming off the bye week and stuff, but it wouldn't surprise me to see them looking ahead a little bit. They've got the big matchup in Kansas City the following week. And I like a lot of what I've seen out of San Diego this year, this previous week notwithstanding, but they've shown a lot, and I think they can put up points with just about anybody once Phillip Rivers, gets his touch going and stuff. They've shown that they're a very dangerous team, and I could see them pulling out a squeaker at home, a bit of an upset over the Broncos.
Well, at least I expect it will be a close one.
Dallas at New Orleans. A battle between division-leading teams.
Yes.
Possible playoff matchup.
Finally the leader in the NFC East will back to 500 again in winning percentage because Dallas is 5-4 now. They will be 5-5 after this week. I think New Orleans is the better team and they won't drop 2 games in a row.
Comes back to the statistical mean then.
Yes.
Pulled back down.
On the average, they're average.
Yeah, same thoughts. Dallas obviously has a lot of talent on their roster, and they can put up points, and they can sometimes play defense, and they can do this and that, but there's still absolutely no consistency there. There's still week in, week out, or even within the same game, very little consistency. And New Orleans, again, yes, at home, obviously, for the most part, the better team this season, and coming off a tough loss that they weren't expecting to take. Don't see them losing 2 in a row. So, yeah, Drew Brees and company grabbing another win isn't going to be a big surprise. Final game of the week, the Monday night matchup. Miami at the almost surprising Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah. I think that's the Monday night game everybody's been waiting for, right?
Yes. It's the battle for Florida.
At some point, Tampa Bay is gonna win one this year, and I think it's gonna be this week. We talked about it, that the off-the-field problems in Miami are a concern, and maybe now that it's everything in the media, it's causing even more disarray than it should have caused before already. On the other hand, Tampa Bay should be able to get something out of almost beating Seattle.
Yeah.
On the road, of course, and so having a home game now, I think it's going to be the first win for Tampa Bay this year.
Well, the state of Florida needs some good news. I'm not sure which way it would be to go with that. I'll stick with Miami, mainly because having watched Tampa Bay just kind of give the game back to Seattle last week, it has left me with absolutely no confidence in them finishing anything out. And I could see them once and again, pulling off a lead or being in the game late, only to find a way to give it away, to fail, to surprise us all with their inept play calling, something like that.
Maybe they managed to get away with 42 points in the beginning. Then it's very hard to give it away.
Maybe so. It's not going to be a big surprise for me either way, but I think Miami's grit in pulling out the win with Cincinnati last week, coupled with Tampa Bay's anti-grit, leads me to go with the Dolphins at the win. Okay, well, that's it for another session. Appreciate you joining us. Thanks a lot, and we'll catch you next week on Touchdown.
See ya.
Bye-bye.